Hi everyone, my name is Ishita Shah and I did a tutorial on data visualization. So before I dive right into how it's used, I'm going to just go over a general overview on it. So data visualization basically describes an effort to help people understand the significance of data by placing it in a visual context. So as I just showed in the first slide, we have a graph over here. And as you can see, this would better help you understand things like patterns, trends, and correlations rather than just seeing data in maybe an Excel sheet or just through words. So you might be wondering how teachers can use data visualization. So teachers can make charts to show assessment results. So whether it's a class set of assessment results and you go student by student and put in their grade to see kind of where the students fell, or if you look at question by question on an assessment and try and figure out, where did they have trouble? Was it with critical thinking or was it with academic language? So you can kind of pinpoint where more assistance and support is needed. Now, it can also be used by students in many ways. So if you're collecting data and doing an experiment in science, maybe you can now collect the data and put it into a graph or a chart to better visualize the information. Of course, when we're working in math, there's always bar charts, line graphs, all of that stuff comes, and it's a big part of our math unit, so that would be very helpful to kind of get students working with data visualization to really understand it more. Lastly, you can also use it when you're creating timelines in social studies. So if you're maybe looking at a person's life or an important event, you can go through the progression of their life or the event and really visually see what occurred. So the app that I'm going to use today is called Chartblocks. So there's a lot of different types of data visualization tools. But the important thing to understand is some of them use coding and some of them do not. So you have to realize yourself what you're comfortable with, whether or not you want to engage in coding or you'd rather do it without. A lot of them will also ask you to use Excel to put in the data. So it's all about finding what works for you. And lastly, I just want to go over some of the very highly used graphs in data visualization so that you're familiar with them. So as we know, line graphs are used to track changes over short and long periods of time. Then we have a pie chart, and that's best to use when comparing parts of a whole. So when you're using percentages, it's a good idea to use a pie chart. Then we have bar graphs, and those are used to compare things between different groups. Then we have an area chart, and that's very similar to the line graph, and it displays quantitative data. It just looks a little different visually in comparison to a line graph. And then lastly, we have a scatter plot, and that shows how much one variable is affected by another, so that's great to use in science when you're doing experiments. So now that we learned about the different types of graphs and got a little overview on data visualization, let's get straight into the tutorial on how to use Chartblocks. So now I'm going to show you all how to use an app called Chartblocks. It's found in the Google Chrome store. I already have it downloaded, but I will show you all what it looks like in the App Store. Just search Chartblocks. And it's going to be the first one, Chartblocks Charts. It's rated 4 stars. So now that I already have it under Apps, I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to create a new chart. So it's going to give me 3 different options of how to input my data. I could type it in manually through this app right here. I could choose something that I already made and have on here, or I can upload a spreadsheet. So for me, I am going to go ahead and use Excel. And here I have some bullying statistics. I have bullying classified by different areas. Includes things like name calling, cyberbullying, fighting, racist messages, homophobic comments. So you can choose whatever type of data that you'd like to create into a visual. So I'm just going to upload this spreadsheet from my desktop. And there we have it, just exactly how it was laid out on Excel. We have all the classifications of bullying and the percentages. Now we're going to hit next. I'm going to label it bullying pie chart. And now here is where it is beneficial if you know a little bit about what types of charts work in certain situations and how they can classify data better. So because I'm using a percentage, I am going to go ahead and use a pie chart. And now it's going to ask you to select your X and your Y axis. So for this, it doesn't really make a difference because we're not using a line graph or a bar graph, but you would basically just select, and usually they will choose what they think would work. See over here it says we've tried to pick the right settings for you. So they will try and choose and help you, but regardless you can customize it how you'd like. Now we're up to the part where we choose a template. As you can see, they have a lot of different options from pie charts to more of donut charts on the bottom. And you can choose exactly what works for you. So I'm just going to go with this first one. And there we have it. So now if you'd like to customize it, if you'd like to change maybe the font, the colors, or anything else, here is where you would do that on the left-hand side. But for me, I am done, so I can just go ahead and save this. If you'd like to share it on any social media or use a link, perhaps if you're posting it on your school's website or your classroom's website, you can go ahead and do that. You could post it to a blog. If you'd like to save it and then open it up later, you may do that as well. Just going to wait for that to open up. Here we have it. And I'm just going to open, sorry, let me open up the document. And really what I'm doing right now is trying to show you all side by side what the difference is. Here we have all of our data laid out and shown, but seeing it in a visual as seen on the left hand side is what makes it more easier to understand. As you can see, there's about a halfway mark where 4 of these tend to be the biggest reasons. Shoving, hitting, threats, intimidation, spreading rumors, and cyberbullying make up more than half, while all of these other reasons make up the other half. That really gives you a perspective on the types of bullying that is occurring, and it's something that can be easily created and can be easily shown. So I can bring this to a meeting, maybe a PTA meeting or a school board meeting, and it's a great type of visual where people can really learn from it well. So now I'm going to show you all how to do a different type of chart using Chartblocks. And I'm also going to upload the Excel spreadsheet once again. So just upload it from wherever you have it. Mine is on my desktop. And while that uploads, I'm just going to quickly show you the data. This talks about students' use of mobile devices, what they use it for, and this is taken in both 2014 and in 2015 to compare how it's changed over the years. So it includes things like information, email, social networking, maps, videos, instant messaging, music, and pictures. So we're just going to see how that compares. Just going to give my graph a title. And now I'm going to choose a type of chart. So this time I'm going to go with a line chart. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to use A and B as our series 1, but we're going to add another series, and that's going to be A and C, so that we can compare both years. And here we have it. Now I can choose whichever one that I like. These are all my different options. So I'm going to go with this one, dark. And it just shows me, social networking is at a high, but maps is at a low. And it shows me the pattern for both years. Now, if I wanted to change the chart that I used, if I decided, you know what, I don't know if I want to use a line chart, that can easily be done. I just go to type, and here now I can easily switch to a bar chart, a stacked bar, a horizontal bar. There's a lot of different options. Area, that wouldn't work so well for this, but still an option. I can do a scatter plot. Again, wouldn't really work well for this, but as you can see, there's many different options. So I'm going to stick with this for now, but that again is how that works. You can either publish it or you can save it. And there we go. One of the things that I want to mention is how Bloom's taxonomy also relates to data visualization. So here I have one of the charts used. Bloom's taxonomy basically has the same fundamental points, but it's been changed a little bit throughout the years and modified. So I have two different visuals of it. This first one talks about how it goes from the stages of remembering to understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and then creating. So you're starting off by recalling some facts and basic concepts, then you're explaining these concepts, then you're using information in new situations. So prior to this, you're basically identifying some background knowledge, some prior understanding, and at the apply stages when you're bringing new information in. Then you're drawing connections amongst ideas. Then you're going to justify what your stand is. You might argue something, you might support it with evidence. And then lastly is when you're going to produce new or original work. Now this image over here basically shows the same stages, just named a little differently. It starts from knowledge, then it goes to comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And I think the really important aspects when relating to data visualization is where it mentions analysis and synthesis. Basically, you're going to start off by getting your data, which is the earlier stages, the bottom of the pyramid. And once you start doing that, you're going to put it together into whatever form of graph or chart that you choose. And then once you do have your visual, you're going to further analyze it, and you're going to look for trends, patterns, correlations that really show something deeper, whether it be a pattern that you're noticing in terms of, test scores or questions that students got wrong. This is where you're really evaluating what your data shows you. So now I was basically just connecting it to Bloom's taxonomy, but when I was researching this, I also realized that it kind of data visualization does connect also to the SAMR model, which is something that we looked at earlier in the semester. So the SAMR model has 4 stages. It's called redefinition, modification, augmentation, and substitution. And these 4 stages basically also incorporate technology into instruction. Now, one of the things that I found interesting was this visual over here. Just going to zoom out so you can see. And basically it incorporates both the SAMR model and Bloom's taxonomy. So on the outer side you'll see the 4 parts of the SAMR model. And over here on the inside you'll see the parts of Bloom's taxonomy. And it's broken up into what sort of technology can be incorporated into these different stages. And what I found to be interesting, is right over here we have quick graph, we have numbers, and we have data analysis. And that's all under the analyze section or also the modification section. So it really shows that when you're looking into data visualization, it's basically when you're starting to analyze your data, you're starting to look at what you surveyed and further try and deepen your understanding of it. So lastly, I just want to show the sources that I used to put together this tutorial. This includes where the data was found and where some of the information that I brought forth in the beginning of the tutorial was found from. And I hope you all feel like you learned a little bit about data visualization from this. There's a lot to it, and especially if you use coding or if you're more familiar with inputting data, you can really get intricate. But this is kind of like a beginner's tutorial of how it's used, and I do hope you find some use to it in your classroom. I think we're moving more towards a visual type of learning environment in schools, especially through the use of iPads. So I think this is something that kids can really use better in order to understand information. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And that's it.